And with that, we have the Sword of the Father, King Regis' Blade, and the final Royal Arm. Welcome back to part 34 of Final Fantasy XV. Today we'll be continuing our journey through the Zignortus Keep to try and find Ardyn, find the crystal, and, well, save the world, essentially. There are notes flowing around of showing Ravus' general commitment into accepting that, yeah, Noctis thing. I end up reading them in reverse order, but, yeah, he does come to realise that it was the right decision to trust Noctis to be the one true king. And to be honest, this did kind of depress me. Like, it upsets me more than Luna's death, knowing that Ravus died. Not only died, but he died kind of off screen. You just find him here. Because Ravus had a lot of character to him, and you could see, like, the steps of it as you went along, of him slowly growing to understand the situation, slowly growing to not necessarily respect Noctis, but understand Noctis' position through all the hardships. Even when he absolutely despised him and wanted nothing more of him dead, he still grew to understand the situation it is, and show some hesitation, especially at near the end of episode Ignis, where Ravus goes out of his way to defend Ignis and to try and save him from Ardyn. And then just for him to just die off screen instead of getting that closure on his development, it just kind of depressed me a little bit. It was just sort of like, oh, okay. The Sword of the Father is a pretty cool royal arm though, and it's the one that I'm going to now be using for the rest of the game because of its plot significance. It feels just right to use it, but it is a pretty beastly weapon. The main thing being that at most points through the combo, I don't think you can do it off the strike 1. I think it has to be as soon as strike 2. If you hesitate and then press the attack button again, Noctis will hold the sword pointing down and then sort of twist his wrist over himself to launch it, and that attack does almost always critical damage. It does ridiculous pain into the enemy. My throat is still a little off, but I'm definitely recovering from this illness. I'm better than I was yesterday and better than I was the day before. And we've got so much AP to spend, and we're not going to be able to spend it for a while yet. And as you can probably tell by me going here, this is me saving to record it because I knew that was going to be the first chunk of Gralia. Originally I was planning on making that cutscene be the end of last part, but I thought it'd be better to keep the suspense of us falling down and finding out where we ended up in the second part. Alright, this poisonous gas, it's not as bad as the game makes out to be. Like, you can't traverse through this door yet, it's the only real thing because the gas is blocking it. But when you've travelled enough into it, more vents turn on, and then you become poisoned, and then you have to get out of it. There you go. Then you have to get out of it just to be fine. Any room you see like this that has vents in it, you're safe, so you don't have to worry about it. So if you somehow end up in dangerous amounts of health, probably if you're doing a level 1 run, if I'm honest, then you'll find yourself relying on these rooms a lot. And then you're going to see me immediately swap back to the Ring of Lucio because it's so fucking broken, and I'm waiting to just deal with these enemies. Well, I say that the ring itself's not too bad, it's just that one spell tied to the ring that's ridiculous, because it just instant kills everything. And I think the only thing I've ever seen survive it are enemies that are 100% immune to instant kills. Anything that just says resistant, well, they could be hit by it. And they usually do get hit by it, and it's like, oh, okay. Because I mentioned a level 1 run, and it's been a pain in the ass, but I've never actually done a level 1 run. Like, I can actually imagine it not being that bad, especially because of the whole team swapping thing. Like, this chapter might be a bit annoying because it's just Noctis. But any other scenario where you can swap to a character, you've got Prompto to keep your distance, you've got Gladio for parry mastery, and you've got Iggy for raw damage. Like, it will become the most non-Noctis adventure in the game, but it's still, I can imagine it not being as hideous. If it was just Noctis, then yeah, maybe it'll be a pain in the ass at some points, especially if you try and do things like Costelmark Tower. That'll just be go in with 99 Phoenix Downs and hope. But then there's also things like the Magitech suits, which I've deliberately not shown off because they're OP, where they make you completely immortal to all damage for a set amount of time, and it resets every real life day. And you just, when you use that, it's just like, okay, well, there's the challenge, it's just gone in half. Yeah, like the ultimate super boss of the game that was introduced in Royal Edition ignores the Magitech suit, which is pretty cool. Not to have a boss that just says, no, you're not using your bullshit strategy, you're fighting me and you're fighting me properly. But it's still like, the suit exists, and it's quite powerful. But if it's the Rogue Axemen, now is when you're supposed to be able to fight them because you've got the sword. which makes sense. But the ring is still more powerful, despite the fact the ring was kind of designed to not be able to deal with them in the initial build of the game. They just buffed it like after launch. But anyone who played it when the game launched understood the Axemen were to be feared because they were a pain in the arse to deal with if they spotted you, because the ring wouldn't kill them like in any decent rate. You're draining at them for a while, long enough for them to usually hit you before you could actually do anything about it. Oh, that's a cheap shot. Whilst the sword takes a while to burn through them anyway, but you're actually doing damage to them, sort of thing. And there's a Gralian medal distinction. I can't even remember what the medals are for. Like what spells you can infuse them with to make. Well, I remember some of them, but I just can't remember all of them. There's way too many materials and components to remember what each one does. Give me a break. Does this one jump us? Oh no, he just looks at us though. Yeah, I turned back and looked back at it because that's creepy. But it's just looking at you. I do think he comes alive when you walk enough distance. Yeah, there he's come back alive. I think I just... Oh no, I drain him. And look, that... When the game first launched, the drain wasn't that quick. And also, these guys are suicide troopers. If you get near them and then move away, they will just detonate on their own. There you go. And there's an item hidden behind there that I almost completely missed if it wasn't for the indicator. Also, that guy's trapped, haha. Poor MT. What did he just get whacked by? Like, you saw that, right? Like, we walked around for him to just hit the floor. He got whacked. Oh no, he didn't get whacked. I think he was supposed to be on it, but he spawned standing up, and then his model had to quickly reset to the ground. Also, these over here. Here's your shop. Hey, this is your mid-dungeon break shop, so make the most of it. You can't buy weapons from this one. You can only buy basic resources. And you can also check this to get your ID thing leveled up, so you can get a higher clearance and explore more of this dungeon.
Access to level 4 zones.
To be honest, I think that code was more there to just make sure you check out the shop, because the code's right next to it and you can't go through the door until you check it out. So it's just sort of, you have to walk past the shop anyway, so you'll notice it's there. You can't not, sort of thing. Which is fair enough. Showing you without telling it to you, I always appreciate. It's not something that we see that much anymore, which is a shame. Like, I miss the good old days where the games didn't assume you were dumb shits. Developers didn't assume we were dipshits. So they knew that we were capable, and we knew that we'd understand. It was fine. Also, some of these guys didn't die to that. I was actually quite surprised. Like, one of them, I gathered it was just because they got animation locked and invincibility frames because they did the grab attack on me, so they would just ignore it. But that guy just survived. I don't know if it was just out of range or what, but he just casually survived it, not a care in the world.
Helpless without your friends babysitting you.
Did you not just see us nuke those enemies, Ardyn? What are you on about? Seriously, Ardyn, if you're gonna tease someone, like, make sure you know what you're talking about first. Although that's the one thing, you can kind of see it when you drain an enemy. Make sure you kill them for your own like sake of not seeing some horrific imagery sometimes. Just don't leave them hanging around, because every enemy that gets affected by it gets thinner and thinner and thinner, and their models can get freakishly, like Sims 3 at launch, freakishly thin and stretched, and it's kind of terrifying. If you don't like thin stretched limbs, it is really unsettling. Especially because of how quickly it puts you into a point where it's like, no structure, no body structure would be able to support that. Especially if you do it to human beings, you're just sitting there and go, whoa, no. When they look like skinnier than people who haven't eaten in months, kind of skinny, and they look like they don't have bones, they're just sticks. It's just like, oh god. Now I checked back here, but there's nothing here. This is just a big old weapons locker. If Prompto was here, we'd be set, but this isn't episode Prompto anymore, so it's not. But seriously, like, I mentioned this last part, but who on what planet, like, what architecture, what, like, building designer, when, yeah, this layout is perfect. Like, it's just the final dungeon. He just designed it saying, yeah, I bet some kid's gonna have to go through here. It's like a big hassle to overcome all this troubles here, so we're gonna make it really big, complicated, loads of tunnels. Just like, no, just make it easy to get around, for goodness sake. Make it convenient. I hope that guy got fired after making this. Reduces gun damage. Not that fussed. We have got a Magitech shield though that I should really equip because it boosts your HP and your defense. I think that's what I go and do now. Because it boosts your HP by 1,000, which is pretty good, and it busts your defense. Like, what more do you want? I think in all 3 doors there are enemies either near them or in them. And I think this is the only one that doesn't lead to loot, I think. And I'm pretty sure one of them doesn't. I've mentioned before, but if you can kill like the goblin enemies, things like that, just before they drink the item, you do get it back. But that one was a bit of an arse to just drunk it as soon as. Although you get a mega elixir, so all 3 of them are worth checking out. And there's a restroom in the middle, so what more do you want? That's a proper rest and recuperate zone there. Also, rather annoyingly, you can't rearrange your gear, because if you could, I'd put the sword and the father on the right slot, because that's where I have my royal arm, and the ring of Lucia on the down slot, since that's where I have my extras. But you're stuck with this. And if it's Ardyn's being quite coy with this bit, if I remember right, he says tragedy could strike at any moment. Because he's not talking about tragedy for us, but he's still talking about a tragedy. This is the boss I was on about last part, where I said you're not supposed to kill him whatsoever. The idea is that you're supposed to evade and avoid him, but because they buffed the ring so stupid amount, you're going to see me kill this guy, and they just respawn him. Also, that's how strict, like, he's got freakishly things. I started draining him. And there's Noctis's hint of, no, you should probably be evasive, not aggressive. I'm trying to get a holy off it. I do kill it in the end, I know I do. Because I remember, that's when I noticed, oh enemy, you weren't supposed to kill it, because it just respawns. There's a point later on you're supposed to kill it, but that's not till later on. Unfortunately, you can't do alternatives till max magic, but it's fine. Because it's that OP, like, you get waiting until your magic fills up doesn't really mean that much in the long run. Also, the lift has arrived, and I decided to stay here because because I decided for myself. It's like I could probably kill this thing. You also can't do Altaria if you're not locked on, so you have to lock on then do it. Right, this kills it. It's dead. Like it got pulled into the void and it's dead, and then it just comes back because you're not supposed to kill it. So the game's like, well, so it just respawns it and it says, okay, wise guy. Like, that's what I mean though. They buffed the ring that much, you can do that. It's stupid. But I get the ring needed a buff because of its like plot importance and it only being able to really deal with basic mooks, but they should have buffed it for every use outside this chapter. I think they should have left it as is for this chapter alone.
Is it scary?
Also, do you recognise this music piece? They played it when we were talking to Camilla back in Altissia, and they just decided, yeah, we're going to use it again now in this blackout section. In this section, any door that is electric based won't work until the generator's back up and on. And it's also worth mentioning, every time a generator is on in this section, like, there's another section later on where the rules are slightly different, but every time the generator is on in this section, that boss enemy that you're not supposed to kill will come back and start chasing you again. So to sort of try and add to the horror factor, you've got an alien chasing you. You've got a demon chasing you. There you go. He gets a nasty pot shot on you, but you're just supposed to move on. There are some areas where he will leave you alone regardless. Like a restroom, but that's kind of obvious. I also take the opportunity to rest here whilst this theme plays. But really, I did find that really odd. I was like, wait, hang on a minute, why are they playing this theme again? Like, did they just really like it? And just went, no, we can't just use this for a political talk with Camilla and Altissia. We gotta use it again. But, I digress, but Oh, so yeah, just being near the guy hurts you sometimes, so just get a move on and move. Get a move on and move. Wow, that was brilliant use of vocabulary, Robert. And there's also, anytime you see an optional door, go for it, just for the sake of it. This back room, the guy also struggles to get into. Goodbye. Oh, there's only a mithril shaft. Oh yeah, the other guy walked into range. The other guy was out of range and he walked into it, the stupid guy. And there's another mega elixir, and this guy's still waiting for us. But he can't get through it, so I just ruin his day. Because he can't get us. And so he makes himself invincible, and vanishes. Because he can do that. When you get here, you enter the second section. This one, the rules change slightly. The guy can attack you. I don't know if he does in this recording, but I know he can. Oh no, this thing decides to attack me instead. Fighting these things with a sword, like originally, was so much more helpful, but the ring is even more powerful because you can abuse the electric balls for holy damage, which you can eventually see me like crack onto and go, hang on a minute, can't I just go up to him and tap square, and there you go, you just nuke it to death. And you can just keep on rapid tapping square if you get yourself like tied between a couple of them and just keep on murdering it. Thankfully those doors seem to run on a backup generator because they just moved on their own like an automatic door anyway. I'm guessing they would be an emergency door though. Like if it's like a fire hazard or a demon hazard. And we're getting a lot of equipment pieces now. There is a Magitech suit V2, but I don't get it at all in this game because it's a rare drop from a rare enemy. Let's go turn on this generator. We're gonna have a run in with that guy again. Oh, an enemy spawns. Neat. Oh god, there he is! That's kind of haunting, just to see him booking it at you. Yeah, go on, go invincible so we can move, thank you. So I kind of feel like they should have just made him invincible in general instead of just teleporting away so that he could properly be on your case. But maybe they just didn't want it to be too horror or too aggressive. They wanted to say, okay, what would be a healthy level to put it at? That's kind of intimidating though. They spawn the guy in as you run over the guy. Run over the... I need to stop referring to everything as guy. They spawn that boss in when the Axeman catches you. So then it's the whole, oh god, he's coming for you, as well as the Axeman's going to detonate. Chrome bit, yay. I'm trying to think whereabouts along the dungeon, because that is a criticism I will have on the Zegnatus Keep. I even checked the map for it, so I must have been feeling the same way when I was recording it. Everything starts to become a little bit samey in this dungeon, is the biggest criticism I'll give it. Because it's really big, but it feels like they stretch it out for the sake of stretching it out at points, and so it just becomes kind of repetitious and a bit like so samey, I guess. Because we got a puzzle room coming up a little later on, where depending on what switches are flicked, depends on what doors are open. I think this is what we're actually just entered now. Which is another... Why did they design this then? If it's supposed to be used for like machinery and whatnot, why make it so awkwardly complicated? Especially because you're not allowed to have all three switches pulled. Like what? Who designs that? If you have all three switches pulled, all doors would be open. And I can almost guarantee there's loot in this bit, but you're not going to really see me bother looking for it. Because there's a section to like the top left that you can't get into normally. So you can't get into it normally without having all three switches active, but then it's a thing of, well, you have all three active, so why don't you just leave and move on? And that's what I end up doing in the end. So there's probably is loot on the other side. I don't know how good it'll be, but I don't bother going for it because I just wanted to get a move on with this dungeon.
Ever wonder where demons come from? Once upon a time, they were children of nature. Beasts and men. Oh, and you've killed so many.
I do enjoy the fact that thanks to Ardyn you can learn more about the demons in Zegnatus Keep. As much as I shouldn't really be thanking Ardyn for anything after everything he's done so far in this game, and how evil of an evil guy he's became, it's still interesting to learn more about the world of Final Fantasy 15, to learn more about the world of EOS and what they're doing in this game. because you're gonna learn more as we go. But you kind of alluded to the major points there for us. But there is a lot of interesting stuff to learn about surrounding the demons and their origin, where they come from, how they came to be, etc., etc. And if I'm just going to make a point now as well, like you might have noticed the objective marker, the dungeon, this puzzle, isn't really much of a puzzle where it's telling you what room you need to go to next for the next key. Like it really should just be letting you explore freely, and if you bump into a new key card, then hey! And there's more information about it.
What a pity. Innocent souls fated to suffer.
Some of the demons made were just clones of natural human life. Whether it was, well, I say just natural life in general. Some were human, some were just other creatures, and they were just transformed against their will into demonic life. Ardyn just introduced to Niflheim a more artificial way of doing it with the form of MTs, but he has had access to a more natural way for a very long time. He's very demonic in his own way. What am I doing here, me? I'll work it out eventually. And yet there's the thing saying, oh, by the way, you can't have all three on. At this point, you can, if you want to, open the door to get you into the top left. But those two switches, B and C, are the only ones you need to get to the back door. So that's what I use and get out of here. You can also see me cut here because I paused the recording to consider whether or not going back for it. And I eventually decided against it, so there's that cut. Vanishing sickness,
Mysterious disappearances.
It's kind of easy to connect the dots, but I'll clear up any confusion. Ardyn's turning people into demons, and he's been doing it for a long time. When he came in and took over Niflheim, he knew when the time was right, he could just make people who he needs to be, essentially. And so he made these demons from various life forms from whoever he found, and the heartless bastard even used the Niflheim Empire, the empire he's supposed to be with, as test subjects for it to help impede Noctis and the true king. His reasoning and his motives for it have yet to be unveiled, but I'm sure we'll find out eventually. Because it wouldn't be a Final Fantasy game without motives for a villain. And so that vanishing sickness was part to play of it from Ardyn. He had that level of control on their humanity and demonic side that he could make or take away when he needed to. Especially through the form of an infection that could make people demons.
Epidemic proportions.
That became so large scale that you can take a wild guess why Niflheim's so empty, and yet there's so many demons about. The demons are the people who were here. The demons are the people in Niflheim.
He's not empty either.
And this is where Ardyn teases that Prompto is one of them as well.
Skeleton in his closet.
Like we learnt in episode Prompto. Following the outbreak, demons swept through. And before long it took over and there were more disappearances.
Disappeared?
All the patients didn't disappear. They became the demons. What's it? Oh, it's just a rogueman half up the stairs. But that is a quite sinister plot point. Like, I wish they explored it a little bit more. But then that's just me liking the dark shit. Like, darker plot points in games that aren't too dark are always kind of fascinating to me. Because it's kind of like, oh, how far are you going to go with this? If it's not... Because, let's be honest, Final Fantasy 15, yeah, it has its moments for sure. But it's not dark, I'd say. Like, it's quite tame. Also, we got another rest point here. This one we will be returning to a little later on, so just don't forget about it. Oh no, I think I'm referring to a later one. There's one that I decided to keep on coming back to because it's just convenient, but I don't think it's this one. Looking at how much longer the video's got, it's still got like another 8 minutes. There must be another one up ahead. But there's one that I ended up, like I said, making a return to, not once but twice, whilst collecting and doing what needs to be done. But we are nearing the end of the Noctis solo section. Though we are going to start bumping into and reuniting with our teammates at some point soon, just not yet. Ardyn's still got a little bit more teasing work to do yet. In this room there's a lot of journals and information entry you can find, more talking about them. More over half the keep's inhabitants are now demonic. Like, he did it, he turned them into demons, that bastard. God, that one made me jump. I'm not I'd switched on that, But that's the worst thing in horror games. Like, if the few people who remember my Outlast Let's Play, and if you actually watch that, I kind of feel sorry for you, because I was back when I had my hit worse than this mic, and didn't have any confidence in my voice. I say I don't have that much confidence in my voice still now, but I'm just a little better than it than I was. But back then, if I'm actually playing a horror game, I don't jump. I don't get scared, because it's a horror game. I know what to expect. I've played more than enough horrors in my time. You're never going to see me like screaming and jumping over ridiculously. If I have a subtle jump, I might just laugh at it and go, oh, that made me jump, whatever. But you're never going to hear me scream. You're never going to hear me roar. You're never going to hear me do any of that clickbait, in it for the kids bullshit that every other YouTuber that has like over 1 million subs likes to do. Because it winds me up, personally. I don't find it as entertainment. I find it as exaggerated, poor acting, and it just upsets me. I say upsets me. I'm exaggerating. It doesn't upset. No, I'm the one exaggerating. It doesn't upset me. It just winds me up, which I guess is a form of upset. But you know what I mean. Also, this is another glitch. This door's not supposed to be open.
There's something here, which means it's locked.
It's supposed to be locked off, which is why I knocked like comments on it, and I can just walk straight in. The door didn't load in. A whole door didn't load in. So that's why it's just floating in the air. So I kind of go, huh, okay, and then move on. We come back to that in a little bit, and it's actually locked, and we can get into it properly and get what we need to get. Because obviously we can't trigger the flags to get anything that's in it, because it's not supposed to be available. But I just found that really funny when I first saw it. I was like, huh, okay. So what you're actually looking for is this switch on the back, which makes the whole thing move, which is cool. It's just a giant lift.
How will this story end, I wonder?
Probably with us beating the bad guy.
Intruder alert. Mobilizing dormant magic.
Also, as you saw by that big wall just phasing through, that's where the door's supposed to be. The door's supposed to move all together with it, sort of thing.
Even more of them.
Well, your friends. You don't think they ran off without you?
Oh, shut up, Ardyn. In this section you can just run away, but because the ring's OP, of course we just fire them. I say, look, the music stopped. There's loot on both sides. The loot on the other side isn't quite worth it, but when more enemies spawn, I end up going back, killing them all, and then picking them up again anyway.
Only a matter of time before Ignis bumbles into a trap.
And yet Ardyn is aware of the blindness that Ignis has. He's incredibly aware of it, which is why he's like teasing about it.
Clearance raised.
Once we have our clearance up to level 6, so we can continue through the door that was left up here, more enemies spawn. So, but there is loot on the other side, but you're not going to be able to. You're not going to see us immediately access it. You're going to see me run over to it, hoping that we'd lose them by the time we get there. I spot the item and I go, oh great, and then you're going to see me diddle about for a few minutes, like a few minutes longer than I had any reason to, trying to kill all these guys.
Tough without your borrowed toys.
Is that all of them? No, it's not. Yeah, there's one guy that just sits over there. But this one's actually like a demon. It's one of the necromancers, like a minor necromancer. I forget what they're called. Wraiths. Ow. Did they expect you once again to just sort of move on without fighting all the enemies? But because I want that loot, I'd stick around. And I keep on trying to get a holy. That's what I'm really. I get minor holies, but never the proper detonation holy. There it is. Once again, Ardyn, you need to stop making those comments when I've just nuked something. Like, your comment kind of falls into, like, invalidation when I'm just killing them. Like, I'm not incapable, I'm very capable. Look at that, he's dead. How many more are there? Oh, it's just the detonators. So yeah, I nuke him again. It's just too powerful, man. Like, it makes a cool light show, but it's just too powerful. But they're all dead, so let's see what our loot was worth it. I don't even think it was worth it in the end. Yeah, it wasn't even worth it at all. It was a muscle stimulant. And a high elixir. Yay. Both things that we either don't need or can buy. I said the high elixir is not too bad, but you don't really have a reason to use a high elixir because a normal elixir will do more than enough. But I say that, it's a bit depressing that we live in a day and age now of the Final Fantasy series where elixirs aren't god tier. Because elixirs used to be guaranteed full HP, full magic restoration. They cost like 50,000 gil, and in some Final Fantasy games they weren't even sold, you could only collect them. And you certainly couldn't get any more than one mega elixir. There was only ever like one in each Final Fantasy. 2 in 6, but in 6 was a piece of piss easy anyway. And you had to actually proper work for them. You could never buy mega elixirs, and now like... how many mega elixirs have we got? And we've got mega phoenixes as well, which is just a mega elixir tied into a phoenix down. Anyway, this is the last section you do solo Noctis.
In case
So,
there's any doubt, it's a trap.
yeah, okay, thanks Ardyn. So, if you were getting a bit bored or a bit burnt out of just Noct, things are going to start picking up now. And despite only still having 2 more videos of this, I'd say we're about 2/3 of the way through the dungeon. But you might have noticed at the start, when we went to start Zegnatus Keep last part, it came up saying that there was another perspective. We could see it all from Gladio's perspective. That's what part 3 of this Shimo is going to be. I say part 3 of this dungeon, the next part of this game. We're going to be seeing the whole of Gladiolus' and Ignis' perspective. And then wrapping everything up in the part after that, which will be Friday's part. So we wrap up this dungeon at the end. We don't have a part of the dungeon lingering about. For a while here, you're just waiting on Iggy and Gladio to find you and free you.
In trouble. Guardian, there ought to be a kill switch nearby. Find it. How do you know that? I believe it's the reason we were brought here.
Yeah, because Iggy's caught on as well that they're being all toyed around by Ardyn. Because Iggy's smirked like that. Well, it does get a little close. There we go. Thanks, Gladio. Thanks, Ignis.
Get here. You're welcome.
Yeah.
After we were separated, we received help from the usual suspect.
Now all that's left is finding Prompto again. But Prompto is in here. Ardyn confirmed that himself a while ago.
Reunited with your
So we get this objective finish, and now we get Reunion and Recovery, which is looking for Prompto, which we'll be doing next time on Final Fantasy 15. Also, this is the rest point we're going to be returning to a few times in this part. So next time on Final Fantasy 15, next time on Final Fantasy 15 we're going to be looking at Gladio and Ignis' perspective. The part after that we'll be going to find Prompto. But until then, you guys take care now. They're going to be experience points we get. See, I told you it does tally up even though you don't see it. Anyway, you guys take care now.